I was about the age of 13 when the story took place. I lived in an old house just on the outside of a large city, and was surrounded by cornfields and forests. I had lived there all my life before this happened. It was a dreary summer night, which is mostly normal for the place I live. But on this particular night, something just felt off. I had come home from soccer practice around 6 p.m., and my parents always had me in bed by 8. The night went on as usual. I ate dinner, played with my little sister, and did some weightlifting before bed. I got into bed around 7:45. This story will make better sense if I tell you some things about me. I'm a restless sleeper. I toss and turn and get up periodically through the night. And I've always had a fascination with the afterlife. I'm not sure exactly what time I fell asleep, but I didn't really have my usual episodes through the night. This was the first night I slept peacefully in years. I was suddenly awoken by a strange noise coming from the bathroom in my bedroom. Since I had to use the bathroom anyways, I decided to go check it out. I thought it might be a mouse or a bat since we live in the country and this house is old and has holes in the older walls. I went in the bathroom. I didn't see anything, so I proceeded on my way to pee. After peeing, I washed my hands and face. When I was washing my face, I looked up at the large mirror that overhangs my sink. Since there was still water in my eyes, my vision is blurry and I couldn't really see much. But I thought I saw something behind me. But I thought it was just my mind playing tricks on me as well. I dried my face off and looked up at the mirror again. Right behind me, there was a little girl, clutching my body, almost as she was hiding from something. Her ghostly outlines scarred me at first, but as I kept looking, I could tell whatever was scaring her was coming from the basement. So I walked to the basement door and I opened it slightly at first because I was very scared of what might be behind it. This being said, I've lived in this house my entire life and have never been in this basement. My dad mentioned to me that it had 3 separate parts, all separated by small windows that you could barely fit through. So I walked down the basement steps and got down to the bottom where the light switch was. I turned it on, and all seemed like it was okay. That's until I heard what sounded like crying from one of the other parts of the basement. In my mind I was thinking, fuck this shit. But in my heart I knew I had to see what it was. So I ventured through the part of the basement and the light couldn't reach the other side, where the other room was. It was pitch black. I still heard crying, but it was so dark I couldn't see anything. Something gave me the urge to go to the far corner of the room because the way the moonlight reflected off the floor, you could kind of see with the little light you had. I walked over to the corner and stared directly in the middle of the room. There, in the middle of the room, was a chair. It had shackles for the feet and what looked like to be some type of restraint for arms or something like that. That's when I noticed there was someone sitting in that chair. I walked closer, only to reveal that it was the same little girl ghost that had been crying previously in the bathroom. She's also crying here, and had needles stuck in her arms, draining some type of fluid into her. All was quiet till she started screaming. It was high-pitched and I thought it sounded like a siren, or something of that nature. She was saying words, but I couldn't make out anything she was saying, until she spoke 5 menacing words that made my heart sink. She said, "Get out, Daddy is coming." Not even thinking twice, I sprinted up the basement stairs, tripping over my own feet, and fell flat on my face once I reached the top. I got back up and ran to my parents' room. I told them what happened. They went down there and checked everything out. I told them about the chair and the little girl that was screaming. They told me there was no chair in the basement, and there had never been 3 parts of the basement. Me not believing them, I walked back down there, and the room that I saw the chair in was not there. There had only ever been two parts of the basement, my dad said. I told him what I saw, and I knew there had to be some mistake. But I never did see the part of the basement again. I'm 18 now, and I decided to do some research on the house to see if there's any history that could help cause that. I came across an article of a man who had been arrested in 1868 for doing lab experiments on all of his children. After the man was arrested, the police found all 12 skeletons of his children stuffed behind the basement stairs, under debris and concrete. Now that I finally moved out of that house, and that I finally have an answer as to what I saw that night, I am finally at peace. But those 5 words still hang over me to this day. Get out. Daddy is coming. Before I begin, I'm a 16-year-old male. About 3 years ago, I was in Virginia visiting family over summer. We were right outside the DC area and staying in a 2-story house near the freeway. On the other side of the freeway was a forest, so my mom, her boyfriend Eric, and I were all staying with Eric's parents. We had brought some night vision binoculars and decided that tonight was the perfect time to use them. So after dinner, we gear up and head out. We pass under the freeway and head into the woods. We get about 5 minutes into the forest. We set down our bag and take out our binocs. My mom looks around with them for a while, seeing a few squirrels here and there. She gets tired of them and passes them to me. I look around for a while, being careful not to look at the freeway for fear of being blinded. I spot something behind a tree about 50 feet to our left. I concentrate on it, trying to figure out what it is. It looks like a pale, bald, anorexic man looking straight at us from behind the tree. I get a bit uneasy, but I'm hesitant to believe it's really there. I ask Eric to take a look, just in case. To my despair, he sees it too. He describes it much the same way I did. Now, Eric is a former amateur boxer, and I train MMA almost every day. But neither one of us wants to stick around with that thing. We start heading back to the house, crossing under the freeway. We take another look behind us as a car comes by. All 3 of us see glowing eyes lit up by the headlights on the other side of the freeway. We say fuck that and head back to the house. When we get back, Eric's parents are asleep and my mom and Eric go upstairs to the guest room. There's only one room left, so I have the couch downstairs. I'm a little too excited after seeing the things in the woods, so I end up staying up all night. Around 3 a.m. I'm watching TV and start hearing footsteps above me. I immediately remember our earlier encounter and panic a little. I try to calm down and tell myself it's just one of the dogs or maybe someone couldn't sleep. I'm hearing the footsteps for a while until I hear a doorknob jiggle. I find it weird that they're trying to open a locked door, but try to ignore it. They stop, walk around for a few more minutes, and then it's quiet again. I stay up until the sun starts coming up and then pass out. My mom wakes me up, and I remember the footsteps from the night before. I describe what happened and asked if one of them got up at any time. She says no, and I think it must have been one of the dogs. That is until she tells me the room above me is the office. No one was in the office, and the door stays locked at night. My heart sinks as I piece it all together. I don't know if it was that thing for sure, but I think it was. I've done a lot of research since then, trying to figure out what that thing was that night. I found 2 creatures that seemed to match it. I think it was either a skinwalker or a wendigo. Whichever one it was, I'm just thankful that door was locked. I know I wouldn't be able to fight that thing, no matter how tough I am.